You are listening to GORCAST, you idiot.
We rolling audio and video? Cool. Anthony motherfucking Stevenson. Thank you for coming, dude.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I finally nailed you down. We tried it once.
Yeah, man. My
Didn't work.
dude.
So you're a
All
busy
over the
man.
place.
You're a busy man. You're traveling around and shit. You just went to Colombia, right?
I did.
And saw Pantera.
I did.
That's
yeah.
so dirty.
The tribute to, we'll call it the tribute to.
Oh, tribute
but,
to. Yeah, it's not truly Pantera without Dimebag and
Diamond Vinny. But man, it was they're doing it right, dude.
Yeah?
They're doing the brothers right for sure. Yeah, and it was wild. It sounded great. It looked great, and the two main stages were set up on a pavement parking lot. And never in my life have I felt a pavement parking lot feel like it was a wooden dance floor. Everyone was jumping and moshing throughout. I mean, front to back, side to side, and it felt like the pavement was
moving.
Have
you been you've been to the Crystal Ballroom, right, in Oregon, in Portland? You've probably been on tour there once. I don't know.
I don't know if I have.
It's upstairs.
Okay.
And it has the really bouncy floor. I don't know if you've been there before, but it's probably something like that. But the concrete was bouncing up and down?
The concrete, man. Yeah, I was expecting for it to open up and for there to be a sinkhole and, for it to be like the last show we ever saw. But
wow,
the pavement was flexing. It was cool, but it's kind of scary at the same
everybody
time.
sounded good?
Yeah.
Was that their second show back? Their first one was like in Mexico, right?
Yes, that was their... I think it was their second. I believe it was. Yeah, they played Hellfest or not Hellfest, Hell in Heaven Fest in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have had one more show in Mexico before going to Colombia. But either way, second, third, something along those lines.
Okay, cool. But it was on point.
Dude, it was fantastic.
Phil, even in his old age, he's just roaring still.
Best I've heard him. I mean, like, he's come through with like Super Joint Ritual and Phil and the Illegals. And, one of his 27 projects, and then it's always good. Yeah. But he's been rehearsing.
Pantera's pretty controversial right now. People, they hate. But then it's like some people they're like past that point where it's like, fuck it, everybody's still gonna go see Pantera.
Yeah. I mean, like I was skeptical. Being that it's Zach and Charlie who are the musical brothers to Diamond Vinny, I was like, well. If anyone's gonna do it, it's cool that these two cats are doing it.
Right.
It's obviously not Pantera, but they're they had a big photo collage and video collage like of the brothers at various points throughout the set.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like when you go to a funeral and you see like the emotional kind of slideshow thing of the people that have passed away, and it's like so it was kind of like they mixed some of that in with the concert.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't like they're trying to just forget about them and keep going with Pantera. Because the Pantera fans are like, you can't have Pantera without Dime, Vinny.
Yeah, now if they were to come back and be like, oh, we're going to put out a new album, I'd be like, oh, okay, all right, now let's pump the brakes.
It's cool that they did good and like it was an enjoyable show because a lot of the time that can be like a money grab and they're like, kind of not doing so hot, like Vince Neil kind of, like doing his last, trying to get that money one more time.
Yep.
And then it's sad to see your heroes kind of like that. There's a certain point where it's like, we don't want to see that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Let us remember the good times.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Anthony, thank you for coming on the pod with me, dude. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. I wanted to get you in here for a couple of reasons. I met you a couple of times at the venue, and you're just a cool guy to hang out with. And also, I'm very interested in I love your venue, so I'm very interested in. It's honestly a near and dear place for me. When we were still like in the end, when the pandemic was kind of going away, we came out here in March of 2021, and just me and a couple of the guys to kind of see what was going on out here because we'd heard about Austin and everybody was the comedians were moving here and shows were still going on and. We came out, and that was, like, the day that they lifted the mask mandate. And so we went down to, like, Rainy Street where all the bars are, and we saw just masses of people everywhere and having a good time. It was St. Patrick's Day when we were here visiting for the first time. And, we still – back at home in Portland, it was still, like, completely shut down. There was not even shows in sight. Like, it didn't even – people were like, I don't know if it's ever going to come back. Like, they were still talking like that. And we came out here and saw, like, DJs, playing to giant crowds of people at bars, at, like, 12 different bars, packed. And we got back home Nobody tested positive. Nobody got sick, right?
Right.
And so we were like, you know what? We deserve to have our shows come back too. Like, we're not gonna sit around and wait, and like we should be having shows. And so we decided to book some shows in Texas. And so I reached out to Skylar, your right hand and your left hand, kind of. But shout out Skylar. But I reached out to him, and he was like, to be honest, like, I don't know how it's gonna do because we're still kind of coming out of this pandemic thing, and like, but I'm gonna give you a chance. And we made it happen. We did a good job, and that was like our first show back from COVID was at Come and Take It, and it was like emotional for me because it was like I didn't know if I was ever gonna get to play a show again, and that was the first place that I got to come back and play a show, and it was like it went really well. It was like 100+ people came out, and I was like, this feels like home. It feels like my home court venue now. You know what I mean? And then now since I've played it, I think 2 or 3 more times. And now, you know, we live down the street from it, and I go there all the time. I've helped, you know, do some work around the house, do some work around the house.
Absolutely.
But it just is a near and dear place for me, especially with like transitioning from coming, you know, moving across the state for the first time, to a new state. It was like, great to have like a home base, you know what I mean, where I felt like there was a little bit of a family unit going on there, and you guys have always welcomed me with open arms. So I was curious, I have a lot of questions just about like, how did that whole thing, let's go back first, I guess. How did you get started in like booking shows, or were you in a band at first? How did you start doing this whole thing?
So I've played music for quite some time. I mean, probably since I was 12 or so, and I'm 38 now. Notice the wisdom whiskers going on here. But
it's good. Salt and pepper.
Yeah, man. This is one child. This is the second child. But so played for a long time, and as I was getting into the Austin scene, trying to get into various venues, I was having kind of a difficult time, before having established relationships with the in-house bookers. And they had kind of proposed, well, hey, maybe just come in as the promoter for the show. You build the lineup, you'll have to cover some expenses, but you put the show together, and we'll give you a date versus us trying to put you here and there, because they weren't familiar with
this. This is for your own band or for other bands?
For my own band at the time, just a little garage band kind of thing.
So you kind of they were like, you could be the promoter basically for your own show.
Right.
Sweet. Which is always the way to do it if you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. And that was without me knowing anything about it. Like, I had a 9 to 5, and I was working, I was a mechanical engineer, actually. It's funny, this building that we're in right now, I designed all of the HVAC work.
No way,
True
really?
story, yeah.
That is
so
crazy.
If anything doesn't work or sucks, it's my fault.
It actually works great.
Yeah.
Oftentimes too cold in here.
Yeah,
because it's blowing so hard.
This is one of the first projects that I worked on.
That
True
is
story.
crazy.
Yeah.
So you're a smarty pants as well, as well as a rock and roller.
It's been a while. So like I was doing that for 5 or maybe going on 6 years. And around 2006 or so, the economy was kind of taking a crash. A lot of lenders were going under, architects, structural engineers, civil, and so on. And so the company I worked for eventually had to dissolve. And it was right around that time where I was starting to book these shows at Red 7, Encore, Red Eye Fly. And I'd been doing that kind of just as a hobby for my band, and it got to a point where as my day-to-day, my 9 to 5 went under, I had to find a way to try to keep my roof over my head, and so I kept booking local shows. And somewhere along the way, some smaller booking agents around the country kind of took notice. My information was listed somewhere, which I'm still trying to figure out where it was listed. And they called me, or they would email me out of the blue.
Agents,
yeah.
Right on.
I think one of the first agents I ever worked with was Dan DeFonts.
Okay. Cool.
He, I think, found my information, sent me an email, and was like, hey, I've got this tour package coming through. Found you online. Would you be interested in taking on?
You remember who it was?
It was...
It's deep in the archives.
It was And Hell Followed With.
Nice. Classic deathcore.
And and that might have just been it. I think
with locals or something.
Like way too many locals in the show, probably.
13.
Again, didn't know anything about it at all.
Sure.
And so he took a chance on me. I took a chance because I had no other option. I was like, well, truck payments next week or whatever.
Right.
And started booking more and more, and then it kind of snowballed. You know, I worked more with a few other agents, and then I was referred to others, and so on. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call about booking Static X, and then booking like Fear Factory, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is a thing now.
Right.
And
just kind of started getting bigger and badder from there.
Yeah, and just I never looked back. Just kind of just kept booking.
So there was a while where you were booking, and when you didn't have your own venue, you were booking at like 7 different venues. Are any of those places still around anymore? The places you listed?
Yes. Well, not the places that I listed, but Empire down on 7th Street. I was doing a few shows there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd gotten into, Red 7, Red Eye Fly, Encore, and then met the folks at Dirty Dog on 6th Street.
Rest in peace. I've heard. I've never been there, but
dude, R.I.P. man.
Why can't somebody buy that and turn it back, open it back up?
It's been sitting there empty since
Right?
before the
That's
pandemic.
what I'm saying.
The pandemic was the nail in the coffin. They realty company came in, bought up a bunch of various properties, increased rent significantly, and unfortunately they couldn't continue to operate there. And then the pandemic hit.
Right.
But it sat empty since, and that kind of tells me that company has some bigger plans for that entire block.
Right, they're gonna sell it off or something, or build some condos or
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, I think they're waiting for other. This is speculation.
Right.
I think they're waiting for maybe some other leases to come to their end, and then they're gonna maybe do some commercial
or some investment or
stuff.
something. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
So a lot of those venues have closed then since because you've been in the game for a while.
Yeah, unfortunately. Empire's still going strong.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, if I have a show that's either too big for Come and Take It, or if I'm double booked and I need the date, I'll still go to Empire. They always take great care of me.
Nice. Yeah, I'm still kind of getting around to all the venues. I've only been here since July, so like I've only had a chance to go to a couple different ones. You know, Come and Take It, obviously, is where I spend the most time, but I've been to like Mohawk and I can't remember if I've been to Empire yet. I think I did. I went to like an emo night thing that was outside.
Yes.
Is it all outside or is there an inside too?
No, they have an well, it's kind of an interesting setup. They have an indoor stage, and I can't remember the exact capacities, but I think indoors, give or take 350.
Okay.
They have a back patio where they'll have maybe DJs and some like solo acoustic kind of stuff going on, and that connects to the main outdoor stage that you've been to for the emo night. And I've had like Texas Independence Fest there where we connected everything. We had outdoor, indoor, through the merch on the back patio. It's a cool property.
Nice.
They've developed it a good bit.
Yeah, it definitely was dope from what I remember. But so was there a point where like, I guess because there's a lot of people that are probably in that situation where, you know, they book around a lot, or they're like the guy, but they have like, they're the guy that agents hit up, but they have 4 or 5 venues. A lot of them probably feel like it's nearly impossible to acquire a venue of their own, right? Because it's just the overhead's crazy. Yeah, you know what I mean. So how did you get into that? You know, how did it go from you know, booking, promoting shows at, you know, several different venues around town to, you know, owning your own venue? Because you do own, for people that don't know who you are, I guess you own Come and Take It Productions, right? And you're a partner in the venue.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
And so how did that whole, I don't know if there's stuff that you can't share, don't worry about it, but like if like about the partnership, I'm not asking for the details, but it's like, what was the story of how Come and Take It kind of came together?
So after kind of jumping around and booking as an outside promoter at various spots, I developed a relationship with the Dirty Dog folks and kind of almost exclusively booked all of my Austin shows there, again, unless they were too big.
Right.
And as my relationships with bands and agents grew, so did the size and caliber of the artists. And so it got to a point where I could no longer fit them there. They were having some issues with the fire marshal, and even though they had their load card stating their capacity, the city just kept giving them trouble left and right. I mean, we'd be mid-show with For Today, I think it was their farewell tour, August Burns Red, and the fire marshal would come and try to shut the show down, and I just kind of hit a wall with it, and I was like, all right, need a larger venue. Done with this. I'm at a point where I need to get into a home, you know, where we can facilitate this. And
did they ever shut down a show? Like actually just pull the plug on the show? Like when they would come, would you just be like, fuck off? Or how did that work?
They never completely shut down a show. But, so I think it was For Today that was playing, and there was a set change, and so folks had all gone out front onto 6th Street to smoke and to hang out, get some pizza and whatnot. And that was when the fire marshals came. And they told us that although however many folks had already left the building during that break, they told us that the amount of folks that we currently had in the building exceeded the capacity, and that we couldn't let those people back in. Even though they had tickets, they paid to get in, they had a wristband. We were at capacity, and it had to be one in and one out.
How do they know? Like they come in and they're like, they just scan, they just
Exactly.
are good, they just eyeball it and they go, no, too many. I
Exactly.
counted 423, and you're like, how did you fucking count?
Yeah. So on paper, it was supposed to be $4.99, and they tried to tell us that it had to be $2.99.
What?
Yeah, and so I'm like, well, there's okay, so I can't let 100 plus people back into the venue right now. That's not gonna happen. So we got a little, and maybe this is the part that I shouldn't discuss. We got a little crafty with it and getting those folks back in. Long story short.
Yeah.
But that's where it hit a breaking point. And Ben, my business partner at Come and Take It, was the GM at Dirty Dog as well, and he was ready to get out. He wanted a bar of his own, and so we had a mutual friend, Jason Sabalo, who owns Buzzmill down the street. He's been in the game for years. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might be from Seattle. Hopefully I'm not making that up, but I think he's from
the Northwest.
Yeah. And
Makes sense. He has that kind of vibe, like with his art. With like, he works with Chad Eaton, the guy from Element Skateboards. There's a brewery at home that works with him, and he does a lot of like bears and trees and that whole thing. So
exactly
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain he's from the Northwest, but he had bounced around, has done various things, and he was at a point where he had the venue before we got in there. It had changed names numerous times. It was Antone's when Antone's originally left.
Oh, it used
Fifth
to be
Street.
Antone's.
Yeah, not the OG, but they had to leave 5th Street, relocated over here, and so it was Antone's. It was Beauty Ballroom, Midway Fieldhouse, Grizzly Hall, and it was still Grizzly Hall when we first took over the lease from Sabala. Bought him out basically, and he then focused on Buzzmill and other projects that he has.
And that's why there's bees on the wall, right?
That's
a little lore. If for anybody local that's listening, that's why there's bees on the wall.
Exactly. Yeah, we inherited the interior decor, and we're just like, man, all the cedar.
It's cool.
It works.
So it would have been a sick Buzzmill.
You
know what I mean? Like, to be honest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but so for people that haven't been there, it's like, how would you describe it to somebody who's never been? If you punch it up and tell people what the walls and everything like that.
Kind of feels log cabin.
It feels like a lodge.
It
feels like a lodge.
Yeah. Lots of cedar on the walls,
like full logs.
Full
trees on the wall.
Not like planks or boards, but
it's awesome.
Trees, basically.
Oh my god, sorry. Good watch.
And all kinds of cool stenciling that some of Sabala's bartenders or bar managers had done themselves. And they're all friends and family, so we're like, man, let's keep this. It meshes what we're going for, feeling wise, and then
sounds great too. I think it has something to do with the sound being so good in there.
I'm sure all the cedar helps with the acoustics.
Right,
absolutely, it gives it a warm.
So
sound.
You inherited it from the Buzzmill guy, or you bought it from him, or
we bought out his lease, bought a good portion, if not almost all of the contents of the building
for furniture and sound system and everything.
Yeah, bar supplies, coolers and things. And then over the years, we updated all those things. Got the line arrays, replaced the lighting, other miscellaneous
reinvested
bar equipment and things
in the building, basically.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So did you guys have to like get a big loan for that, or did you have it saved up, or
we?
Because that's a pretty crazy building. Like for people that haven't been there, again, it's like how many square feet is it off the top of your head?
It's somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 square feet.
Right, and there's an up and a downstairs.
Yeah.
Like a balcony, kind of a whatever you want to call that. It looks over the stage.
Yep.
And is it like 1,000 cap room, 800 cap, or
It's
with the
we're
upstairs?
currently 750.
750. Okay.
And it's kind of a gray area there because the capacity has fluctuated so much on that building, and it kind of depends on who the head the fire department is at the time and what kind of load card they want to give us. But it's 750 on.
If some
on
guys
average.
got a hard on for you, they can come in there and fuck with you if they wanted to, right?
Yeah. And it being 2-story is cool because it lets us scale the room. So if we have a smaller show, close the upstairs, make it feel a little bit better. If it's a bigger show, open the upstairs. And
yeah, it's amazing how it can hold so many people, but it still feels packed when there's like 150.
Yeah.
Like it still feels, because there's some rooms at home, like, we have a 500 cap. You've been to the Hawthorne Theater before in Portland.
Yep.
That's kind of the closest thing we have, I think, at home to like a come and take it situation, like a nice club level venue. It's a little smaller. It's a 500, 450 cap or 550 cap. And it feels empty if you don't have 300 bodies in there. But for some reason, like with the way that the balcony comes over, it just like feels full, and the energy's good even at like 100 people, or like, I think we've played the lowest head count we've had is like 80, 90 people in there, and it's always is a good time. It still feels good. Yeah, it's good.
Well, I think it's a weird room, I mean, having the main dance floor, having that mezzanine area where like front of house
in the middle
and merch is located.
Yeah.
And I think because that's staggered with that wall separating the two
it's
sections.
It's like a step or something, yeah.
There used to be a set of stairs there, which was a huge
nightmare to get
drunkards,
Yeah, I bet.
I fell off there a couple times. But having that wall, I think also kind of helps, like, condense folks into the dance floor, or if it starts to exceed that, then it tears up, and then they start going upstairs.
The weirdest thing about the whole like booking thing, because I'm trying to do that as kind of a side hustle as well, like just book a few shows around, like, because there's shows that Skylar can't come and take it because it's either double booked or it's too small of a show or whatever, and so he's like, I'll go and hit the guy at Valhalla up and try to. I haven't done one yet, but I have a couple that are about to be announced that I'm going to try to do and see what happens. But it's interesting how you almost have to just throw yourself into it the way that you were talking about. There's no handbook. It's a profession. It's this weird, ambiguous thing that it can't be taught in school. You can't take an online course from some influencer and learn how to be a promoter and get in touch with agents and book shows and how everything's supposed to run. And it's just such an interesting, learning curve.
Yep. You get thrown into the fire real quick, and there's like music or business music management and various courses you can take in school, but it's not related.
No,
it's not
real time experience. They don't. No.
It's like you kind of have to start off by being in a band, dealing with venues and promoters, and kind of understand like, okay, this is how it is on this end. If I were in their shoes, then how would I take care of these folks? And then
when I was in Portland, I worked for the Mike Thrasher Presents. I don't know if you know who Mike Thrasher Presents is, but a guy named Mike Thrasher passed away a couple years ago. Rest in peace, Mike. But I used to work as like the front desk person for him, and I was in a band, and so they would give me a good deal on the venue when I wanted to do my headliner shows, and basically let me be the promoter. Like, you find the locals, here's your deal, you pay everybody, settle out with everybody, and then you kind of stage manage and run the show, production manage as well. You know what I mean? So I got experience that way. It's just like you said, you just got to be thrown into it. It's weird. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I've never met Mike personally, but the last time that I was up there with Crowbot, I believe it was a Mike Thrasher show, although it might have been after he passed.
It's still Mike Thrasher Presents.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still under his name.
Okay.
So.
I heard great things about him. Never had the.
Yeah, he's like a legend out there for sure. Yeah, he was the guy, and that's the interesting thing about the coming here. It's so different from Portland, because in Portland it's such a tiny little city. Like, I think it's like I don't know the actual math, but it feels like it's like a third the size. Like, it feels like Austin, the way it's spread out, is like Austin Metro is like 3 Portland metros. You know what I mean? Like it's just such a small city, and there's not a lot of venues. There's not a lot of like good venues where big mid to big level shows can come. And then there's also like a jump between, like, Hawthorne is like one of the bigger club level ones, and it's cheap. They own it, so they can put, cheaper acts. They don't have to say no as often, right? You know what I mean? Like, whereas there's like Revolution Hall, or like places that are nicer and newer and more expensive to operate. And those places, they only take people that they know are gonna set, bigger artists.
Yeah.
But then again, they can't take too big artists because the room's not big enough. So then you have the Roseland, which you've been to, probably downtown in the sketchy area down right on Burnside. But that room is only 1,400 cap.
Huh.
And that's like the big venue there, right? And then there's the Crystal, which I think is like 16, and so it's not our options are limited,
right?
And then there's Mike Thrasher Presents, and there's another guy named Jeff there, and those are like the only they run the show, right? So it's like if I wanted to do what I'm trying to do, just when I'm not on tour, I'm trying to like I do photography stuff, I do this stuff. It all kind of makes a little bit of money, but then like. I need some little extra, I either have to like do DoorDash stuff, or I could like keep it within the realm of what I'm doing and maybe, help book a show here and there. Right.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. And it's like, you can't even really, it's harder to do that in a smaller town where there's less of a market share for it. You know what I mean? Because the city's only big enough to have like two or three big guys that kind of get all the shows. So when you come here, there's so many people booking shows, and there's so many venues, and there's music happening Monday through Sunday, like every night of the week, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
to be honest.
We're
We're blessed. We live in a great place for music.
Absolutely. Real quick, before we continue, I do want to say you had mentioned that there's no handbook, there's no class you could take, which is accurate, 100%. But I do want to make sure to give a shout out to Tammy Moore. She was promoting heavily at the Back Room, which became Emo's.
Oh, okay.
The old Back Room, and in various venues around town. She was kind of the metal mama. Like she booked all the metal shows. And around the time that I was kind of forcefully getting into the promotion
out of necessity,
keep food on the table kind of thing, Tammy was kind of moving on to do other things and phasing herself out, and so we knew each other. She had booked shows, and I knew her through the metal community. Anytime I had questions, I'd call her, I'd text her and be like, hey, I don't understand this about this contract, I don't understand what they're asking me about this deal. Can you and she was always my go-to and like my
That's
guru.
Awesome.
And I will forever be grateful to
you. Got to pass
Tammy
that
Moore.
along, right?
Absolutely.
When somebody does that kind of stuff for you.
Yeah. She's, man, and still like anytime I see her, it's just like mad love.
Is she not around anymore?
She is. No,
she is? Cool.
Yeah. Every once in a while she'll come out to shows, and she still has her hand in various things in the music industry and whatnot, but isn't actively booking and promoting anymore.
Okay.
But, she was huge help over
How'd you meet her? Just from doing shows and
playing shows, doing shows.
What was your band called?
Oh man.
What were your bands called?
So
How many did you have?
The most. Well, so I still play in a band right now called Critical Assembly. It's a bunch of dads, and we kind of escape on the weekend and go make music kind of thing. Before that, it was a metal core band called Killing and Apathy. Horrible name.
I mean but that's a name that in the early 2000s, right? Is that when it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the time to have a name like that. Blank the blank name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And before then, it was the same band with probably 15 different names we went through, I think. But I believe Tammy and I met originally at the Back Room, probably.
The Back Room.
Yeah, okay. One of those shows.
Sweet. And do you do anything else besides you tour manage too, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did you get into TMing?
I think it was 2017. One of the agents that I work with, she and I become friends over the years, and one of the bands that she books, Crowbot, the band and I became friends as well. And a couple of the guys now live here in Austin. And they were between tour managers, and she had come to me and was like, hey, I've got this tour coming up. You know these guys, you're friends with these guys, you've booked these guys, and so on. It was The Damn Things, Crowbots, and He Is Legend. And
I love He Is Legend.
Oh, same, dude.
One of the best bands ever. Underrated.
Absolutely, yeah.
Criminally underrated.
Yeah. Man, the new album is so good. But the tour was coming up. They were between TMs, and she's like, hey, you should go out with the guys, see these venues, and just kind of take notes, network with the other promoters, and that's what I did. Went out and just kind of compared our venue to theirs, learned a lot, things that we could do better, things maybe to not do,
right,
and just kind of I stuck with Crowbot for a while, and just kind of do it on the side. I don't TM year round,
right?
But whenever I can,
whenever an opportunity pops up, like
yeah.
the last one was kind of crazy, right? Who was, or the last couple? Weren't you on tour with like a band that was touring with Megadeth?
Yes. So Fire from the Gods, I've known those guys for years. Excuse me.
They're local to Austin, right?
Yeah, they're Austin boys. And I've known them through various bands they played with, and it was there when they got signed to Rise, and they had asked me a couple times to go out with them, and it just never lined up. I might have already been out with Crowbot, or didn't work for various reasons. And then September of, not last year, the year before, September 2021, they went out to support Korn and Stained. And I was,
legendary, dude.
Yeah, I was like, man, Korn is one of those bands that kind of got me into like the
Did
new
you
metal
get to like
stuff
hang out with Korn?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird because it was like right at the end of the pandemic. It was the Live Nation tour, so COVID protocols were super
they
tight.
had to drop some members a couple times, get fill-ins for shows and stuff like that to keep it going. Cancel one, I think, because Jonathan got sick.
Yeah, so there were two legs to it. The first leg was with 68 opening the tour, and Jonathan got sick, and so they had to reschedule a portion of those shows. They moved him to the end of the tour. So he took, I guess, a week off, maybe 2 weeks to get back in shape, and that was right around the time where Fire was to join the tour, and so we were able to get in all of our dates, and then they continued with 68 at the very end. But I mean, there for the first 3 weeks of the tour, Jonathan Davis is sitting down. He has oxygen tanks. I mean, he was struggling.
He was sick.
Yeah, his immune system, I guess, isn't in the best shape, so it hit him hard.
Good thing we didn't lose him.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I think it was Monkey that got sick for about a week, and they had a fill-in for him. But, I mean, every day we're rolling in backstage. Everyone has to take a test every day before they even let you into the property. And so we got to see...
Masks on all the whole time.
Yeah, the whole everything.
So it was a little nerfed at the time. It was a little padded.
Yeah. It was...
Didn't get as much Korn hangs in.
I know, man. And that was... Oh, dude, that was like...
I'm not a fanboy. Like I've met some celebrity people before, and I have friends that are in like bigger bands where people are. I have friends that aren't in bands that are like, oh my god, those guys, and it's like, yeah, they're just my friends. Like it's whatever. But that's one that I would have to go to the bathroom before I met them and like splash water on my face and be like, play it cool,
right?
Like chill out. They're just people. You know what I mean? I'd have to have a pep talk with myself,
absolutely,
to act right. I have no doubt in my mind that I would perform. Like I would do well. I wouldn't embarrass myself.
Right.
But I would be like walking on eggshells with myself mentally. Like you can't be a fanboy here right now. Like I'd have to check in.
That's exactly how it was, man. I've loved that band since I first started playing drums, and the original drummer David Silveria got me into that style kind of. And,
but you got to watch them every night.
And oh, dude, we did. There wasn't one night where we're like, man, we're too tired, we can't do it. Like,
no,
we'd sit there and think like maybe tonight's the night that we just take it easy, and then it's like,
there's no way.
There's no way we have to go out. And just
how many shows in a row did you watch Korn?
Every show.
How many were there? Like 30?
Those
are long tours usually, right?
Yeah, 20. That leg of it wasn't terribly long. I'd have to go back and look, but if I had to guess, it was 20 or so shows, give or take. It was awesome, man. It was cool. The very first night we're at Eagles Ballroom up in Milwaukee, and Richie, Fire's drummer, went out to go test some things in front of house. The level was like, hey man, just sit behind the kit and just kind of don't sound check it, but just kind of toy around a little bit. I see Jameson, one of the guitarists, he's standing, kind of, I guess he was stage left, and he turns and he looks, and he just has this look on his face. I'm like, oh man, like what'd I do? I'm fucking something up.
One of the guitarists from Korn?
From Fire from the Gods.
Okay.
And And then when we get done after the fact, he's like, dude, Jonathan was sitting in his throne 5 feet behind you, just sitting there, just kind of like smiling, looking around, just watching you and the whole thing. And I'm just like, I'm glad I didn't see him. I probably would have shit myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Any interaction with them? Were they cool guys at all? Or?
Very cool.
That's awesome.
So cool. So nice.
That's always nice to hear with like a legendary GOAT kind of a band like that, where you're just like, they could be dickheads if they wanted to, but you don't get that far, I guess. I mean, being a dickhead, right? You know, that just, we don't really put up with that in this industry.
Yeah, not at all.
Which is different from other music industries, right? Like, I feel like the pop, like, you know, get me my coffee, you know what I mean? And like the movie industry, like the, you know, production industry for films and stuff, like celebrities can be assholes and get away with it, you know, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, yeah, no, for sure. But
metal, we don't put up with it.
No, not so much.
It doesn't fly. You got to be chill, dude.
Yeah, they were all sweethearts, man.
That's
just,
awesome.
I mean, super humble, hilarious. Head was, I mean, just every day, man. Just was, you know, we're just dying laughing about something that he's saying or doing.
Who?
Head.
Oh,
from Korn.
From Korn, yeah.
But yeah, they were super cool, man.
They all have weird names.
Right, yeah. Head, Monkey, Fieldy.
And then Jonathan. It's
yeah,
like the most normal name.
Right. Jonathan Davis.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
What was the craziest like show that you remember from that tour?
Man, probably the first one. Probably the one at
in Milwaukee.
Yeah, because it was a really weird day for them. Production had to be scaled down. I mean, they couldn't put anything on the stage because there wasn't space for it. The venue itself is really cool, has a lot of weird history, probably very haunted. It was interesting, and then everything else is pretty straightforward after that. But.
Well, that's cool that you were able to like pivot from such a, I feel like, white collar industry of being like a mechanical engineer, looking at plans. Probably had some glasses on, maybe.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, he threw a little glasses on, and you got the plans out. I could see you like, you know, with some kind of a protractor, and you're drawing some things, and now you're like a tattooed rocker, dude, just running the show out here in Austin and touring with bands that are on tour with Korn, and
yeah, man,
it just goes to show you that you could, if you want to do something, you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like your story, I knew your story would be cool, so I wanted to figure out what it was. That's why I wanted to have you out here. Who all have you toured with, you know, band-wise? I mean, obviously not, I know you tour with, like, Crowbot, right, and Fire from the Gods, but what bands have they toured with that you went out with? Because I know they went out with Megadeth, right?
Yeah, so this last tour, it was I was working with Fire from the Gods, and they went out, Five Finger Death Punch, Megadeth, a band from Mongolia called The Who.
Not to be confused with The Who.
Right, yeah.
Wonder how they avoid getting sued for that. Different spelling, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's it. And for all I know, they might actually pronounce it a little differently, but
The Hue or something.
The Hue, maybe. Yeah, I'm not really sure. And then Fire was first of four, and so those are the only 2 runs that I've done with them. I'm actually about to go out with them in February. It's they're supporting Norma Jean. It's gonna be Norma Jean, Fire from the Gods, and Greyhaven.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
We'll have it at Come and Take It, actually.
When is that?
February 28th.
I will be on tour myself.
Yeah. Hell, Skylar will too. Actually, I'm stealing him from the venue. He's gonna come drive for us. So a little bit.
Oh, he's driving for you guys.
Yeah,
Okay, cool,
yeah.
Nice. That'll be fun. He loves hanging out with you.
Yeah, I love hanging out with him too, man.
Yeah,
and that's
he's
kind of what
awesome.
I'm looking forward to. Is that like now we'll be working together in a different capacity, but
Right.
we'll have time to actually.
You guys could probably talk about, you know, how to improve things at the venue. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what can come of, you know, you guys getting to spend some time together.
Exactly.
So that's cool.
I'm really looking forward to it,
Yeah.
man. And he's just. I love Skylar, man.
He might be the best dude ever.
He's
one of my favorite people. I'm trying to get him on here because he's funny,
dude.
And he doesn't think he's funny, and he's like, dude, I don't know if I could do the podcast because like I don't know what to say. Like I don't know if I can. And I'm like, dude, let me just talk to you for a minute, and you're gonna be hilarious. Like
just have a conversation with microphones in front of
you.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he always has some random fact about like, I'm like, oh, look at that bird, and he's like, oh, the eastern gray beak. Yes, formerly native to, the Oklahoma area, but it migrated over here in the 1950s.
Exactly.
He's got these weird facts about trees and shit that you're just like, dude, I eat it up all day. And it's like, I asked him what this bird was. And I was like, I saw this ugly bird. It had like a turkey beak, but it looked like a duck. And he was like, oh, it's probably a something or other, red-billed. And we Googled it, and he was right. And I was just like, dude, you are like the Steve Irwin of Texas.
Dude, yeah, absolutely, man. He's a sharp cat, man.
He is, dude.
He's well versed in a lot of different things, man.
He is. He's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
But
dude.
that
That'd be
Megadeth
cool.
tour that you went on, was that like completely insane? Like a tour of that magnitude, like you're rolling around with, they have semi trucks and the load-ins must be ridiculous.
Yeah, so
7-hour load-ins or something.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. I mean, those riggers get in there probably. I think their call on average each day was about 6 a.m. So
6 a.m.
Dude, yeah, and that's after.
What time do you have to? How do you leave? What time do you leave?
Well,
What's bus call? 11.
They're first in, and they're pretty much first out, minus the guys handling merch for the tour package.
Right. They load everything up, wait for the show to be done, pack up merch, and get the fuck out of there, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, those the guys rigging everything, all the truss, the lights, the speakers. I mean, man, like super important job, obviously, because if something goes wrong, everything falls apart. But I mean, semis out the ass, buses out the ass, and the same thing for the Korn tour. Tours of that level at amphitheaters, they have so many trucks, and then they're just bringing them in and out too. As one leaves, they have another one staged to come in to take its spot, and that's with everything, lights, sound.
The gas must be astronomical. It must be $50K in gas.
Yeah, it's got to be something ridiculous. Yeah. The Crowbot guys have had some cool tours as well. The last one I did with them was Danzig, Cradle of Filth,
legendary,
Crowbot, and Necrofire from Houston.
Okay.
That was a cool tour. It was kind of interesting.
Danzig, I mean, it's completely legendary.
Yeah.
So many different types of people showing up to a show with like Danzig and Cradle of Filth. You get like all the different variety of metalhead rock and roll fan type person.
Yeah. It was interesting, man, because like Danzig and Cradle of Filth I could see together. They're different, but like the fan base will appreciate one another.
Putting makeup on and being kind of weird.
Spikes here and there, leather, everything. Crowbot, their sound meshes with Danzig, but having Cradle of Filth between the two was a very interesting dynamic. But at the end of the night, man, I mean, they made a bunch of new fans. It's kind of funny, like some of the folks that we thought were going to want to have nothing to do with the band were some of the first folks at the merch table to buy Crowbot shit.
Right.
I'm like, oh, well, that's okay, cool.
Yeah.
Want them over,
Exactly. I'm wondering how maybe you can offer some insight, because we're about to do this tour with Born of Osiris, and it's our first support tour we've ever done, and it's like it's in Canada. I have no idea what to expect. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I get like a little too stoned at night, and like I lay down on my pillow to go to bed, and I'm like, oh my God, like, are these shows gonna be like too big? Like, am I, can I even do this? You know what I mean? I mean, I think we're good. But then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. But it's just like those moments of self-reflection where you're like, damn, this is my first taste of some big time shit. Right. And I'm like a little anxious about it. You know what I mean? But we're gonna go do our thing that we've been doing for 10 years, and I think that's the reason that we're on the tour. You know what I mean? Is because we've done our thing for that long, and we know how to do it. So
exactly.
And they've seen us live and like how we look, and so it's like,
you guys wouldn't be on the tour if y'all weren't ready. If they didn't feel that you guys were ready, like y'all are there for a reason.
Which is such a weird. It's such a weird way that things work like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, because I this is the tour that we've wanted for a decade of doing this, and it's a band that like inspired us to even be in a band. That's cool, and so it's like it doesn't even make sense that it's even happening. But it also at the same time, now that I've gone through what I've gone through and grown and learned how things work and how to be a better performer and stuff, I'm like, it couldn't have happened any sooner. Like I wouldn't have wanted it to. Now that I can think, like we would have embarrassed ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we had to go out and eat shit around the whole country twice, and now we're seasoned. Yeah, and we know a little bit, but I'm still anticipating to like learn a lot.
Yeah.
Did you tour in your band before you were doing promoting and stuff, or was it just kind of all around town stuff?
We did some like DIY stuff out to the West Coast and back, and then kind of like through the Midwest. I have some really good friends in a band from Columbia called Head Crusher. They moved here, I think, in 2009 or 10.
Good to have people over there.
And
good to have people in all the different places.
Yeah, absolutely, because that opened up a whole bunch of windows
Right.
of opportunity. I booked a tour for them out to the East Coast, went up to New York and back. So I've done some DIY stuff prior to going out, with, I guess, professional bands or signed bands or however you want to look at it. And that definitely helped, I think, kind of, really, really roughing it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like the differences, And did you notice? Did you learn? Are you still learning stuff when you go out with these big bands? You see things that are like completely like, oh, that's how you do it at that level.
Absolutely. I the guys in the band, they'll go and they'll kind of see some sights, take some pictures of some cool, fun stuff, and I'm sitting there taking pictures of like how things are stored and how things are packed and how things are set up on stage left and right, and I'm just fascinated by that stuff, man.
You're taking advantage of. It's like a glimpse into the big time or whatever. You know what I mean?
It's a whole other level, man. Oh my god.
What's some of the most like stark differences from touring DIY to Megadeth? You know what I mean? Like. Because obviously we know that there's a lot of differences, but it's like a lot of us haven't had that firsthand experience, in both of those different levels of touring.
Just the schedule alone, having a very tight schedule each day. Again, majority of the crew getting in as early as 6 a.m. to start the day, and then it kind of snowballs from there. Depending on how that goes for them, and if they have any issues, then that could slow down. Crews then bringing in gear for bands to start setting up and sound checking.
Right. It's a domino effect thing.
Exactly. And if one thing gets delayed, I mean, man, I think it was literally the very last show of that Five Finger Death Punch run where Megadeth is wrapping up their sound check while both The Who and Fire from the Gods are taking the stage simultaneously to set up, and Megadeth is continuing to sound check through their board, through their front of house, through his headphones, and then The Who and Fire start to kind of like line check a couple things, and all of this is happening simultaneously. I've never seen that before, and I think
sounds like a shit show.
It absolutely was.
But they made it work.
Made it work. I believe doors opened on time.
Was there any time? Was that one of those times when you were like, are they gonna make this work?
Yeah.
Are we gonna open doors on time?
Right. Yeah. Is this the show that we don't play?
Right.
Yeah. And it
because if somebody gets screwed, it's the first band.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
If somebody has to cut a song or two or not play, it's gonna be the support band.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
how did that come? Do you know anything about how that came about? Like, did Megadeth ask them to ask Fire from the Gods to do the tour, or is it just an agent to agent relationship kind of thing?
Fire from the Gods.
Who is their booking agent? I mean, I guess you don't have to say. I don't
their booking agent's Matt Pike with 33 and West. But their management is 10th Street, which I could get this wrong, but Zoltan from Five Finger Death Punch, I believe, he's high up in the food chain at 10th Street.
Okay.
I don't know if he owns the company or if he's there, as one of the higher ups, and so being that they're managed by the same company, they've been put on some solid tours. I mean, they've toured with Five Finger Death Punch, I think 3 or 4 times now, in the States as well as in Europe, and so that's just kind of how that works. They just want to develop their younger bands, and so they take them out on these larger tours to put them in front of more people, and so they've done some hellacious stuff, man.
It's all about who you know, I guess. Yeah. Anything coming up? I mean, obviously can't talk about it, but or anything announced that are you going out again anytime soon?
Doing that run next month with Fire, and then after that, tour management wise, I'm wide open. I believe. The spring should be pretty hellacious at the venue. We've got a bunch of stuff that's been announced and some things that are about to be announced.
It's pretty dead, and then it turns up, right?
Oh, dude.
First beginning of the year, right?
Absolutely.
Kind of rough.
Yeah.
And then I have a feeling that this Rocktober is going to be nuts.
I think so too.
Last year's this last year's was pretty crazy, packed full of shows, but I feel like that was still the first full year coming off the COVID thing.
Yeah.
And so this next one, everybody's just out right now, dude.
Yeah,
Everybody is out trying to get a piece.
Yep, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly, man.
Do you think that hurt things in some ways for bands that are on tour, like just like all the bands being out there at once? Or do you think that people just, because part of me feels like it would, but then another part of me just feels like people are just excited that music is back.
Yeah.
Like we had it ripped away from us, and we really were unsure of the future of it for a minute there, for like maybe the first time in modern history. And now, like, if a band that people love, that somebody loves, is coming to town, they're going to that show. Even if there's 3 shows that week, they're like, I'm not missing these. So I feel like it's changed the concert business a little bit, but it's also changed the concert goer.
Yeah,
because absolutely. I feel like for a minute there we were kind of taking it for granted a little bit, maybe.
That's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
So it could have been a good reset. I don't know.
I think so too, man. I think folks now, I mean, granted, there's only so much you can do financially, right? Like you can't go to every show, but I think folks now understand that they can't really take it for granted, and that they need to try to go out and see the bands they enjoy, you know, get that escape and that release, and support these artists that were out of work for, you know, a year and a half or whatever. And so when these bands started coming back, I think everybody was like, okay, we can finally get out of the house. We can see these bands we haven't seen in so long. We need to support these bands because, you know, not only have we been out of work, they have as well. And so there for a while, I think just everybody came out in masses to see everyone they could. So all the bands being on tour at the same time didn't matter so much because they hadn't been on tour at all. Now that things are kind of back in a regular, you know, flow, I think that's going to taper off a little bit. More so because people just aren't going to have the money to go to every single show. But I do think they're still going to go to more than they had before because of everything.
There's definitely something there.
Yeah.
Where people are more willing to, like, maybe not make this unnecessary purchase so that they can they're reconfiguring their spending and allocating more of it towards going to concerts, which I think is cool.
Yep.
Like
absolutely.
I don't know that for a fact, or I don't have data for that, you know. I could be spreading misinformation on that. But no, but I just feel it just feels like it, because there's so many shows, and especially around here, they're all packed, you know what I mean? And even in Portland, where it's kind of rough historically, it's like a C market, B market, you know, like I mean, I don't know if it's I think it's considered a major market, but it kind of performs like a B market, you know. And then right before the pandemic, it was even kind of like rough to get people out to shows sometimes, and bands were skipping us and stuff. But now, right before I left, like, and videos I've seen since, it's like all the venues a lot of these metal shows even are selling out, you know.
Nice.
Which Portland, I feel like, is not it has like a niche metal scene. If you're big enough, you can draw there, but it's I've seen some smaller shows that are still packed. You know, people are just excited to get back out there.
Yeah.
What do you think is something that you like learned on when you were TMing and these big venues that you implemented, you know, into Come and Take It? Or has there been anything?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's you know, the industry is just, it's one of those things where it continuously evolves, and so you never stop learning. There's always something new to adapt to, or, you know. One thing I've definitely taken from going on the road and being in both kind of like some more, not DIY, but like rougher tours versus, you know, some more comfortable ones, is that it's just comfort, man. You know, and we have a good number of those things at our venue. There's some things that we don't have, like we don't have a shower. We don't have a backstage restroom. In a perfect world, we'd have both. But you know, things like that, just comfort levels for
washer and dryer,
washer and dryer.
Like that.
Yeah, that is on the list. Like one of those kind of, you know, it's like a compact, stackable washer and dryer that doesn't need a vent. Anyways, I can go on about that. But last tour I was on, that's one of the things that I took a photo of. Actually,
of the washer and dryer situation. You're like,
I gotta
how do
we
put this?
Yeah.
How much would it cost to put a water line in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But things like that, you know, like when I go out on some of the smaller tours, I'll TM and sell merch for bands. So during the pandemic, I completely restructured our merch area. It wasn't always like the way that it is now.
It's fucking awesome.
Thanks, man.
It's like the best one in the country. Besides maybe St. Louis, the Red Flag. Have you been there?
Haven't been there. No.
They have like the building, inside the building, there's like 5 or 6 storage containers. Like it's like the, like the like semi truck, storage freight containers.
Yeah.
And they like cut windows in them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then they have like the same rack system that we have at Come and Take It.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's already racks in there,
Yep.
and there's like a nice table built. It's fucking awesome. But we have one of the best,
Dude.
that I've been to.
Thank you,
in the
man. I
country.
appreciate.
I haven't
that.
been everywhere, but I've been around.
Well, yeah, and same, and I've seen. Man, I love the Machine Shop in Flint, and I love the dudes there. No offense to them, but the merch area, man, like I swear to myself, it's tight. It's very very tight. The venue's fantastic.
And it's like a big venue, right? So
and,
they have big bands with a lot of merch coming through, right?
Yeah,
it's just bins on bins, and
it's and everyone makes it work, obviously, but
right.
It's I learned. I was like, man, okay, we need space, we need a good wall, we need counters, storage, and so on. But things like that, maybe ways to organize stuff backstage, cabling and stands and things like that. Just kind of taking notes of those things and just trying to be better.
Yeah. What's something that, if you were going to offer me some advice, I guess, because I've never been on this is the biggest tour I've been on that I'm about to go out on. Like, what's some shit I should be, paying attention to, if you could think, that's going to be different or might be different from, roughing it in the van as a headliner.
Right.
I
would say you guys are in which slot?
We're first of 3.
First of 3.
So
okay.
there'll be 2 or 3 locals on each show, and then us.
Right. Okay. I would say just be on time, be there whenever the main TM wants you guys to be there, whether or not he's ready for y'all to take the stage.
Be there,
be ready. Just always be ready to go, whether it's getting on or coming off or getting out the way. Striking gear and
that's something we've always tried to be. We've always been one of the best in the room of like getting on and off.
Nice.
And sometimes bands are like lingering forever, and we're just like, dude,
nothing like a drummer trying to break down his kid on stage.
Oh,
man.
dude, get those stands off the stage.
Yeah,
do it in the back.
Yeah.
But that's good advice.
Yeah, just and that's a lot of the stuff is kind of common sense. But I mean, just schedule stuff. It might not always be the most comfortable, being first of 3 because everything's kind of staggered space-wise, but just roll with the punches because then the next tour you go on, you might be second of 3 or 4,
right.
and
so you might be working with limited stage space.
Yeah. And, as problematic as some venues or promoters may be, just, and as you already know because you've been around the country, just try to maintain those relationships and obviously not have anybody in the band burn a bridge kind of thing because you never know.
Yeah, exactly. We're usually on our best behavior, but
yeah, dude, you guys, I wasn't present for that first show that y'all did around the pandemic, but still to this day, everybody at the venue, Skylar, my business partner Ben, we all take note of that. We're like, man, this was like, we knew that we were coming back when that show happened. Like,
that's
it was
awesome.
So solid. The lineup was great. The turnout
was so
fantastic.
Early. It was very early,
dude. It
was Cinco de Mayo of 21.
Yeah.
So it was very early in the coming back from the pandemic. We got heat for it. Like, people were sneak dissing on us online, like people from Portland that were like, some bands just go to Texas and they don't care about people. Some bands just are gonna go to Texas. We're not gonna go to Texas like some other bands. And that was just, it was kind of at that point and right before that point that I was just like, I'm just so done with this. Like, I want to be out there. You know what I mean? Like, that's in a place where people are still, willing to go see live music. You know what I mean? And everybody was kind of I was just looking at the facts of like what I was seeing with my eyes, which was like everybody was out and about having fun in other genres, right? But metal had to take this kind of, I don't want to say woke, but it was kind of a, very, I don't know, sensitive stance on the whole thing. It's like we were the last ones to come back. Like, that was when I noticed that I was like, we are going to be the last ones to come back because the DJ rave people that are on Molly and drinking at the bar and dancing to DJ music, they're back.
Right.
Like, I saw it in March. They're back.
Dude, yeah.
And so it's like, we are going to be the last ones. And so I'm not going to wait for the industry to, decide for me that it's the right time, arbitrarily. I'm just going to, we got to go out and do stuff. So that was our first time and only time we've ever flown out.
Oh, wow.
For a show. We flew out for that from Portland. And it was like one of the best probably things I'll ever do, like just for the time. And we were kind of like being pirates about it, like it's like you weren't supposed to, it's kind of naughty, and we were just like, fuck it, Texas is doing it, we're going out there, and then
thank y'all for doing it, man. Y'all showed us that the scene was ready.
I didn't know that means a lot to me, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Seriously, like it was a great show, and just the love and support from everybody. We
really have a family at that venue, man. Like we like the regular concert goers, and I don't want to give away too much of your sauce that you guys do there, but you guys do something that's very interesting. And if people, I don't know if you're still doing it, so you can shut it down or not, if it's just like a grandfathered in thing, but the VIP thing that you guys do, I forget, golden ticket.
Oh, the golden ticket, yeah.
Is that still something that you can sign up for if you want?
Yeah.
So explain that for people, because I feel like venues are absolutely missing out on something. Like, this is a genius thing that you've and
Thanks,
you
man.
might not be the only person that came up with it, or you probably got the idea from somewhere, but explain the golden ticket, because I think it's something that people need to know and do and practice at other venues.
So I started the golden ticket before we had Come and Take It. I actually started it when I was still booking down at Dirty Dog and Empire, and essentially would just put their names on a guest list to make sure they got in. But it's a monthly subscription type deal where you pay a flat rate monthly and you get into any show at that point. You also get a few extra perks. You get 2 complimentary drinks if you're 21 and
Drink
older.
tickets.
You get booze. If you're under, you can get a Red Bull or soda or something. If we have the ability, because tours will fluctuate, some are okay with it, some are not. If we have the ability to get folks in early for like a sound check or something like that,
right,
we will. More often than not, bands
they're not
shut
okay
that
with
down,
it.
but
Yeah.
sometimes they don't care, and we're like, oh yeah, y'all come on in, and then we'll boot them back out, kind of thing.
For doors.
Yeah. Give them, I think it's like 15% off of Come and Take It Productions and Come and Take It Live merch.
So badass. Which you need to print more of.
And I do.
I'm gonna stay on you about it. I want merch.
Yeah.
I want more merch.
Yeah. No, we need more merch for sure.
I didn't bring you on here to grill you about merch. I'm sorry.
No, Skylar grills me enough, but I think I guarantee that'll be a point of conversation multiple times during the tour.
All right.
But I have noticed it kind of pop up in a few other places, or a few other promoters that are doing similar things. I was probably not the first person to do it, but like in the industry as a whole, but might have been one of the first in Austin, maybe.
Yeah. We're having some technical difficulties. We'll be right back. And we're back. Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, good, man.
But yeah, the golden ticket is, to me, like when I heard about it, I don't think I've ever really heard of anything like that. And it just seems like a no-brainer. Like, especially if you have like a regular every venue has people that go to every show of said genre. You know what I mean, or whatever, and it just seems like such a good kind of a give back. You know what I mean? Like a way to let those people kind of, and then now that I've worked there, I know I've seen a couple of them and I like recognize, and they're literally, some of them are there all the time for like different shows. They're getting their money's worth out of the subscription thing. And in a new age where everything is so subscription based, like nobody has cable anymore. Everybody's watching Hulu and Netflix. We're all paying for subscriptions for something. It's like that is a good way to tie that into,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the roles were reversed and, I'd get a subscription. I'd just roll up to the venue, whenever I wanted and get in and be like, oh, I got my 2 beers and I'm, here. And I didn't have to pay a cover charge and good to go. Like I'd take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Have you noticed that, like, I don't know, I feel like that kind of stuff in the long run, in the bigger picture, it creates more of like a family vibe at the venue, right? Absolutely. So you got all these regular people that, because I go to a lot of shows there, even if I'm not working a show there or something, or I'll just go and hang out with Skylar or whatever, and it's like you see a lot of the same people there. Everybody's there's a big like family kind of vibe there at the venue that you've cultivated over the years, and it's cool. And a lot of venues don't have that. There's this like there's a hole there. It's kind of like there's a disconnect there sometimes where it's just like, I don't know, you feel like it's just like, oh, this big venue throwing shows, and I'm always paying to go to the show, and it's like you just, it's in and out, you know what I mean? Like the staff is not as welcoming, you know what I mean, or whatever. But then at a place like Come and Take It, it's just the vibe there has been kind of crafted itself over the years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that has something to do with like just those little things that you're keeping the concert goer in your mind, in the forefront at all times, which I think is cool. I think a lot of venue owners, promoters lose sight of that, and they just kind of focus on the money and getting the show, which is that's there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of bullshit to handle with promoting and getting the show from start to finish every night, you know what I mean, and dealing with staff. But then if you can also keep the concert goer, in mind and be thinking about them, I feel like in some way people subconsciously can feel that when they're there, because everyone you talk, I've never met a person that has anything bad to say about the venue. You know what I mean? Right on. So very cool. I don't know if you guys have any snotty reviews or people that you've had to throw out, but I know there's all kinds of crazy shit that goes on sometimes at rock shows, rock and roll. Yeah, but
we have gotten negative reviews, but more often than not, it is from someone that we threw out. And
right.
They were thrown out for some rule
they did,
or law that they were breaking. You know, it's like, no, man, like, we're for or against certain things, but it's, we still have to follow like the laws. You know what I'm saying? Right. Things that could shut us down. So it's like, it's not that I care that you're smoking a joint. It's just you can't smoke it in here, man.
Right.
You gotta.
Yeah, and you can't smoke outside on the patio either.
Right. Yeah. You can't smoke it on the property. You could find somewhere else, outside of our range, and then come back maybe. And
I've had a couple friends that I had to because it's like this is my spot. I work here sometimes and like play here a lot. Like, put that fucking joint away, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I've had friends be like, "Hey, you want to smoke this?" I'm like, "Just go around the corner, dude." Like, I'm like the unofficial security. I'm just take one lap around. I'm backup security. You know, I'm like, "Hey, you can't be doing that here. I got to keep a good rep here. Not with me. You can't be doing that with me around. If you're gonna do that, I'm leaving. I can't be seen with you. It's breaking the rules here."
We're lucky, man. We do have a very strong, I don't know, just scene and family, folks that, a handful of folks that we inherited from Dirty Dog when Dirty Dog closed. A lot of them just kind of migrated, bands and the fans and the people came, and I mean,
that's awesome.
We've had fundraisers for folks, and we've had various like wedding celebrations, and like not the wedding proper, but different things. Yeah. Birthdays, baby showers, things like that for people in our community.
You guys do private events too, right?
We do, yeah.
Rentals.
We're totally open to it. We don't do a lot of them, but we're open, to the idea for sure. I mean, it just, I don't know. It's like you said, promoting in itself is one thing, right? And you book the show, and it's a business, but it's like it's more than that for sure. It absolutely feels way more
when you treat it, when you pay attention to those details that are outside of the promoting and the way that just working the show and getting the show done. It's like people can feel that you go that extra mile. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Did there used to be like a restaurant out front, or like like a food truck out front?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
So when we first got into the space, we had Hoax Death Metal Pizza. They were located on 6th Street, right next to Dirty Dog, just about one or two doors down. And so that was kind of within our family. And when we got in, they had a trailer on the patio, and then just kind of over time, and with the pandemic, being a nail in the coffin kind of situation, they ended up having to move the trailer out, unfortunately.
Any plans for another food truck thing there? I feel like there's such a good spot for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, if that's another thing you can offer where people don't have to go down to Rosita every time, you know what I mean? They can just get food at the bar. It's like, it's also another hassle, but
Yeah.
Still.
Um.
It's the only thing Come and Take It doesn't have right now.
Right.
Is food.
It'd be nice to have something out there again.
Something
I
to
don't
munch
know.
on.
We're definitely open to it. I think the tricky part is the way our property management is handled and the lease is structured is we can't have anything in the parking lot. We couldn't have a trailer or a truck in the parking lot. It has to be something that fits on the patio, and that limits a lot of folks.
You'd have to, like,
they have a
you'd
bigger
have-
operation.
Right, or you'd have to like cut a hole in the wall and have like a window thing, like
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
a little walk-up window.
Yeah, I'm cool with that, man. Yeah.
Extend the bar or
Right.
something all the way over and make a little kitchen. That just sounds like a project, though. Sounds like $100K.
Right.
Sounds like an easy $100K real quick.
Yeah.
Do some renovations like that. You guys have any plans for the venue right now? Like any renovation type plans?
Nothing major. You know, we just need to kind of go through and just kind of test everything.
That
make
work's
sure
been
everything's
done.
up to par. But we did a lot of that during the pandemic. You know, again, new speakers, new lights, merch area, lots of bar renovations itself.
Mm-hmm.
My business partner and Chris Kirk, who works at the venue occasionally when he's not on the road with different bands. I mean, they went to town on that place, man, and just they were there every day working on stuff. But we had a long list of things, and I think we knocked out a good portion of that. There's always something, but
Right.
bulk of it is probably.
Do you guys have you ever considered having it open as a bar if there's no show? Would that financially not work?
We've tried that.
You've tried that?
And we're open to it, and we're kind of thinking that once the condos across the street are finalized and people are moving in, that'll probably be a better time and opportunity for us to retry that.
Yeah.
When we first got in, we tried to just be open on random days, and it's kind of a destination venue. Folks aren't really just walking around here looking
Riverside,
for a bar.
yeah.
But I do think that once those condos, start
That's
to...
gonna be huge,
Yeah,
dude.
I think,
Living right next to a venue. I hope those windows are good.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, we're inside, right? But, I mean, if we have a bunch of people on the patio or if the doors are open...
The patio gets loud for
the
sure.
noise travels, so
Yeah.
I'm waiting for those complaints to come
There
in.
was a band too that the other day, I know you know about it.
Yeah.
That rolled up. It was number 12 Looks Like You, right? Show or Heavy Heavy Lolo, sorry.
Yeah.
Heavy Lolo.
Yeah.
Same era, right?
Yeah,
Same
you're right,
era. But there was a band. I don't know. I think they were called Vantana.
It's awesome.
Look this band up if you can. I don't even think you can look them up. Like they're so crust punky that like you can't. They're like don't have social media. They
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Right.
And they're following Heavy Lolo around in this shitty van that has a drum set. It looked as though it was bolted to the floor of the van, and like they whip up and like it's like a movie. It was like and then like they slam the brakes on and then they slide the door open or they kick the saddle doors open.
Wow.
And the drummer's like and the vocalist hops out of the driver's seat and comes around, grabs a microphone, or she got on the roof of the van.
Yeah.
And she's like, "We're Vantana, fuck you!" And they start playing like blast beats on the little. There's like a little drummer crammed in the drum set, like hunched over.
Dude.
You missed that one.
In there, man.
I
Skylar
don't
sent
know.
me a video of that, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I can't tell if the dude is really small or if he's really just kind of like condensed to the
He's
space
on
that
the
he's
the
in,
world's
or-
lowest drums, the
Yeah.
lowest throne. Your snare is like on the floor of the drums of the van. It's
Right.
hilarious.
Yeah, that was.
But that would be loud if you were living over there.
Yeah.
And that was at like 11:30 p.m. or some shit.
Yeah. So we'll take it as it comes. I think
Right.
in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be beneficial. We'll have to roll with a couple punches, but
Mhm.
I think it'll work out.
Are you guys going to be able to stay there long term at that place?
We will be there for we've got some time ahead of us, but
That's
it's hard to tell with the amount and rate of development in the area.
Lots of apartments coming up on Riverside.
Yeah, nothing's safe in Austin anymore, especially
Right.
downtown Austin. So we're kind of taking it as it comes. But our lease goes for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So we've got that.
You guys should try to get landmarked, like as a a protected landmark. Like it
Yeah.
must always be. Come and take it. I know Mike Thrasher had and he still has the deal with the Hawthorne Theater because the building goes up for sale every once in a while. And everybody starts freaking out, and like the Willamette Week posts about it or whatever, the newspaper in town, like Hawthorne's for sale again. and there's a big for sale sign and everybody gets nervous. Oh no,
Man.
another venue closing, but they don't know the insider information, which is that you can buy that building and it can be sold and bought and sold as much as you want, but it is a historic landmark as a theater, and it must stay as such. It's like written into something.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
and
great.
so you can buy it if you want to buy a venue.
Yeah.
And the Hawthorne Theater, or Mike Thrasher Presents, I believe, still has a 99-year reoccurring lease on that building that renews for 99 years every year. So it's constant. It's like a loophole. Like every year, it's So they've got that. They've got that place. I don't know how you work that out in Texas,
dude. Yeah,
but
no kidding, man.
Try to figure it out.
I've I've heard of leases
Some arts
like
protection
that just go on forever. So I mean, like, as long as you are alive, that will be your business.
Right.
So long as you want it to be, kind of thing. I've yet to encounter that.
The world of commercial real estate, anything is possible. It's weird.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I want to pivot for a second here before we wrap this up and talk about your shirt that you're wearing.
Yeah.
And talk about your second or third love that you're very obsessed with when you're not doing music stuff. You're eating and cooking barbecue.
Absolutely.
So how'd you get into that? I mean, obviously you live in Texas. Everybody likes barbecue here, but some people are fucking about barbecue, and you live and breathe barbecue.
Yeah, man. Born in Austin, raised in Lockhart, 30 minutes south of here. And
the home of Texas barbecue, for people that don't know.
Absolutely. And for the longest time, before all of these amazing barbecue spots started popping up all over the place, folks would travel from all over to go to Lockhart to eat.
All over the world.
Yeah, exactly. All over the world.
Blacks.
Smitty's, Kreitz, Blacks, Chisholm Trail. I worked at Kreitz when I was a freshman, I think, in high school.
I didn't know that you worked in barbecue too.
And
just a high school job.
Yeah, just a high school job. I worked one of the side counters. I didn't have any like significant role there, but I was around it. The pitmaster from Kreitz lived next to my folks in Lockhart for as long as I can remember when I was a kid. And so we'd always just kind of just be around and involved and eat there all the time. Any birthday, any celebration, we're always at Smitty's and Kreitz. Mm-hmm. And that's all we had for the longest time. It was Lockhart's this tiny little town. You blink your eyes and you drive right through it kind of thing, but everyone stops for barbecue. And that's where I think my love for it came from. Just having that.
Because you definitely love it. Like me, you're involved abnormally in barbecue. You're not. It's not just a normal person. Yeah, I like a little barbecue. It's like, no, you've been to all of the Texas Top 50, right?
Yeah. And
from last year,
from the
previous, or last 4 years ago.
Yeah. And it took us a buddy of mine and I a while to knock that out, and we finally got it knocked out. And I'm chipping away at the current list, at least going to the ones that I haven't been to before. You know? But it's just I love it, man. Like, I love traveling throughout the state, seeing areas I didn't even know existed. Small little towns, sleepy areas, might have some
little one street, one light towns.
Exactly. Might have some kind of funky history.
Like
to
Taylor,
it,
Texas. Like Louis Louis Mueller's out there.
There was a spot northeast past Tyler, and the name of the town escapes me, but I think it's like the oldest there's some kind of history to it. Mm-hmm. And one of the top 50 spots is out there. And it's like it's near Shreveport maybe or something that's kind of on that way. And so it's very like swampy, and you feel like you're in Louisiana, honestly.
Really?
In this area, yeah. Never knew
How
it
far
existed.
from here?
If I had to guess, it's maybe 5 or so hours.
I didn't know we had
5 or 6
swamps.
hours. Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? And it's just kind of tucked away. I'd never been there before. And I'm just, we go to eat, and I'm cruising around. I'm like, dude, like, there's, there are these historic hotels and little, like, soda shops and antique stores. I'm like, I can come out here with my family and spend a weekend out here, Yeah. So just that journey to these places that I've never been to before, talking to the people, seeing the setups. It's the food is one thing.
Right.
But the experience is another.
Yeah, and it's kind of all fueled by the food. Like getting out and adventure. It's adventure and travel, kind of fueled by the passion for the barbecue. You know. So how long have you been making it? Because you do some smoking in your off time, right?
I do, and it's I briefly considered trying to take it to another level other than being a hobby, but
it's a lot to learn. You have too much respect for the craft.
I do, yeah, and I don't want to, for lack of better terms, butcher it. But it just a lot of risk, a lot of time, a little reward.
It's rough.
So I was cooking for myself.
Yeah, I see those because I work for one of the spots on the top 50, and I see the amount of work they have to do, and I just have so much respect for those guys, dude. Like it's a different kind of. It's like you have respect for like a lot of respect for Michelin star chefs and like Gordon Ramsay. It's like I'm big into, I like food, and like I know all the chefs, and I watch a lot of food shows, and I'm like I'm really passionate about it. But like I could never. It's such hard work, even in the more white collar like kitchen jobs. But then you get to like barbecue, and it's like all that plus burning your eyes, and it's like it's painful. They, like I'm even in there trying to take pictures of stuff in the pits, and it's like, how do you do this?
You just need goggles, basically.
And these guys are showing up to work at fucking 2 a.m. And they're there all day until 2 p.m. like watching the meats, and then they do a shift change. And sometimes they're just like out of it. I'm like, hey man, and they're like, hey, I'm just
what's my name?
Looking at one of the guys at Interstellar, Warren, War Dog. Shout out War Dog. He said he has a famous saying that when the briskets start talking to you, it's time to go home. Because he'll just stay up all night going crazy in the briskets, and he's just talking to the meats. He's like, well, I'll talk to the briskets, but when they start talking back to you, that's like, that's when that's when it's time to go home.
I've reached my expiration time to go.
Did you ever smoke a brisket or something at your house that you were like, I fucking nailed that?
A couple of times I've been pretty excited about the product that I put out, and then other times, it's another industry that you learn from all the time, constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's even a risk at the hobby level, because you're like, okay, I'm gonna spend hundreds or $1,000 on a smoker,
right?
And then I'm gonna go spend $70, $80, $90, $100 on the brisket, and then like I could fuck this up,
right? And after the amount of time you put into it, like the worst thing is to have a product that you're not happy with,
too dry or chewy or whatever.
I woke up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, sat out here. Tried to work, on the side, like throughout the day. And then, after 12, 14, 16 hours, like, wow, this is shit. I should have just gone to the restaurant and bought something and brought it home,
Should have just got a bag of brisket and came home.
Right. But I love sitting out there early, under the stars, drink some coffee. My kids are asleep. So it's just like, peaceful,
right? It's your it's your safe space. It's your meditation. Your therapy. Meat therapy, dude.
Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite spot in town that you've been, or in Texas that you've been to?
There are so many good places nowadays, man. It's tough for me to pinpoint one. I mean, in Austin, Interstellar, fantastic.
Shout out John Bates from Interstellar. He'll be on the podcast next month, I think. So. Tune in if you're a barbecue person. I'm trying hard not to make this a barbecue podcast, because I'm like in that world now. I didn't move here and anticipate I was going to take pictures of all the barbecue places and like start knowing these guys, but a lot of them are really cool, and it's just a really cool industry to be a part of. But I'm like, and I have a couple people like, hey man, when can I come on? And I'm like, I need to do like 2 or 3 between, so this doesn't become a barbecue podcast. I need to have,
right.
all my interests, encapsulated. I don't want, this is not a barbecue podcast, but it will be oftentimes.
Yeah. A dedicated barbecue episode,
Have you had a chance to go to a pop-up in Houston for Koi? You follow Koi Barbecue? You need to know about this if you haven't yet.
I have not, and I feel like maybe you mentioned Koi to me once before.
My buddy Don Nguyen, from Houston. He's Vietnamese.
Okay.
Grew up in Houston, I believe. His family, I think, came over from Vietnam, and then he was, I think, born and raised in Houston. And it's cool because growing up, I guess, as like a Vietnamese dude in Houston, it's like, there's a lot of judgment that he's been through, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, you're not, you know, you probably don't like this food or that food because you're Vietnamese, you know, or whatever. And it's like he has this very like, motherfucker, I'm a Texan, like
Nice.
attitude. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna Vietnamese this up and make this cool fusion thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a Texan.
That's cool.
Like, don't
Right
get
on.
it twisted. You know what I mean? Like, and so he's like, he just bottled his first curry sauce, so he's gonna do a couple different ones.
Okay.
And so he tweaked it a little bit. He imported Vietnamese fish sauce, which is different from the traditional Thai fish sauce that they put in curry. So it's a little tangier, and I think I don't remember exactly, but more like it's got a little more of a bite to it, and it's just like he basically crafted it to be put on barbecue. He was like he's one of the few people that has like made like he does these like fusion pop-up dinners where they're ticketed events.
Damn.
He hasn't even opened a restaurant yet, and he's opening one in like 2024, I think. Hopefully, if everything goes right.
Okay.
But he kills it with these pop-ups, and he makes like Vietnamese-inspired dishes with barbecue-inspired Vietnamese dishes. So he'll do like a curry with brisket with burn-ins, and he'll do like a pho with like a big piece of smoked Texas barbecue brisket in there.
Damn.
Like
All
pho
right.
soup, you know, the noodle soup, and
Yeah.
like it's just he's such a savant when it comes to, you know, cooking, and just such a cool dude. So hopefully you get to. I would highly suggest he's doing one on the. This will air soon, so I can promote this for him. But he's doing one on the 15th of the month. I don't know if he'll be in town, but it's worth the drive to Houston. Like, because he calls it his backyard barbecue events, and he's got this in Houston. There's no zoning stuff, and you can literally throw a business in the middle of a neighborhood, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
That is cool. Yeah.
And so he's just like, he has this plot of land, and it has an old house on it, and I think he's gonna try to keep some of it, but he's like, knock it down, build a restaurant. But until then, he's got some commercial kitchen gear in there, and all the smokers and pits out back, and big picnic tables and some shit set up. And so he does these backyard barbecue events, and he tickets. You got to go to one of them.
Sounds
They're,
awesome,
They're
man.
super
I'm
cool.
down.
He did a collab one with Leroy and Lewis that I went and shot pictures for, and they did
Wow.
a bunch of some smoked oysters. They did a whole hog. They did all kinds of crazy shit. So, and he kind of throws his little flair in there, you know, stuff that he ate growing up and this and that. So I'm really excited for him. He's killing it. But yeah, he bottled this curry sauce, and like, to go back to just like him being super stoked on Texas or being a, you know, proud Texan, he didn't want it to be, a lot of people when they get sauce like this made, all the ingredients are cheaper, you know, to get over there, but he wanted to get all the ingredients and then bottle it here. So it's kind of perfect. He's got ingredients coming from Vietnam, and then he's making sure that it's made and bottled in Texas. So
Right. That's cool, man.
It is
That's
really
cool.
dope.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like, everything you're saying right now, I'm down.
It's just
and
cool
now
that
I'm hungry.
It's
and,
cool that it's. I know we gotta go eat. We should go hit Terry Black's or something and get a slice. But yeah, it's just cool that there's so much innovation going on in such an old kind of traditional classic industry. There's just people are still making it interesting. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's for sure. That's another thing that I really like about it is that, you know, it is a very old cuisine. It's been around for a long time, but yeah, they're the staples, but it doesn't need to be pigeonholed as these four things. You know, your brisket, your ribs, your sausage, and chicken for a lot of folks.
Exactly.
But you know,
Turkey, right?
and turkey, yeah, and you know, add, you know, various fusions and ingredients and ideas, and keep it fresh, keep people on their toes. You know,
Exactly.
there are more and more places that are doing that
For sure.
and it's awesome.
Yeah. Is there a thing that you get when you go, like, a lot of people, if they go to a new pizza place, they just get a cheese pizza, and that's like their test to see, you know, anyone can make a pepperoni pizza decent, but like, how do they make just the cheese? You know what I mean? Like, do you have like a thing that you go for?
Yeah. Any new barbecue restaurants, I'll get fatty brisket, sausage, spare rib, and
The Trinity?
turkey. Yeah, usually the Trinity, and then I'll throw on a slice of turkey too. If there's something that's just different, maybe a special or something, I'll usually snag that, and then that's usually it, 'cause at that point,
Right.
I'm done. You know? But and same thing if they have maybe a side that's just like, oh wow, I've never seen that variation of X before. Then I'll get that
Burnt
too,
Bean, the shirt that you're wearing, Burnt Bean out in Seguin, Texas. Shout out Burnt Bean. That is one of the best spots you can go to. And it's a fun little town. Like you were saying about like exploring Texas, that's one of those. Yeah. Where it's like a town that you wouldn't go to.
Right.
It's a small town. It's a really cool little small town.
Yep.
And you go there for the food, and then you kind of explore around and, you know, check out the scenery.
Yeah. Damn, I think I'm overdue for some Burnt Bean.
Dude, I've only been once. It was like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm ready to go back. When you go back, you let me know.
All right.
I'll throw down on gas, but yeah, man, we can wrap this up if you want. I think we covered it all. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and taking some time out of your busy life to talk to me. And I
appreciate you guys being flexible. And
for sure, man. I hope only the best things for you for the venue. And if you're in Austin visiting or you live here, a lot of people. Here's one thing I'll say before we wrap up is that what I think is cool is y'all are pretty busy and packed out when you do a show. Obviously, you're booking for that, you know, booking artists that are going to pack a show out. But what I think is exciting for me is that so many people that I've talked to that are locals that grew up here and that are new transplants that are new that even live in this building on Riverside, they don't know about the venue yet. And so there's a lot of I'm not saying that negatively. I'm just saying that there's a lot of room. It's already been a successful place, but there's so much room for potential for it to like grow still, which I think is cool. Because you know, I'm like, how do you not know about this place? It's great, but a lot of people, you know, they're just like familiar with 6th Street, or they're, you know what I mean, or like they have their spots that they go to. But and everybody that I showed the venue to, or bring them out to, they're like, oh, this place is awesome. I'm gonna start coming to shows here more. Nice, you know, so it's like I think there's a lot of room for it to grow, I guess, as a brand. You know what I mean, or as a landmark.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
venue.
You know,
like you said, it's not a destination venue, but I think it should be, and it's on its way to becoming one. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate the
thanks,
love
Anthony.
and support.
Absolutely, man. Always. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
Got it, man. Cool. Thank you, brother.